Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Ramu. My name is actually Ramanathan, but I go by my short form usually, Ramu. And it gives me great pleasure to join you here today, this afternoon, to talk about a topic that is close to my heart. I've titled the talk, The Art of Mechanical Puzzles, a journey through the fascinating world of tactile brain teasers. I would like to thank Dean Sabrina for giving me this opportunity to share with all the young creatives in the audience today about mechanical puzzles, but also my team, my colleagues, mentors, and all volunteers who have made all the things that we've done at Project Enigma possible. With that, without further ado, let's dive into the topic for today, mechanical puzzles. I have three main goals for today. I would like to share with you all about mechanical puzzles, some applications, and the movers and shakers in this industry. I will also touch a bit on my personal experience, my puzzle journey, and how I've built a business around mechanical puzzles. Hopefully, by sharing with you on these two topics, 1 and 2, this gives you ideas for your own creative endeavors, no matter what area. Could be fashion, could be curation, 3D design, etc. Yeah. Okay. A little bit more about myself. I'm 27 years young. My journey is a little meandering. Right? I started off as an engineering student, studied electrical engineering, and then I went on to teach language. I taught German for a little bit as a foreign language. I also teach Tamil in my free time to non-natives. And then now I'm a puzzle curator. I source for puzzles from around the world, the nooks and crannies, and then bring it here to Singapore, and then promote it here through different means. So my company is called Project Enigma Private Limited. Well, the name, it might sound like a community initiative because it actually started as a community initiative. And then we thought, okay, let's make it a company, it can be sustainable. Yeah, so for 1.5 years, 1.5 years, I've been working on Project Enigma. Okay, I have many other interests apart from puzzles. Well, the prime one is enigmatology. It's just a fancy word for the study of puzzles. I also like space and languages. I have many hobbies, always changing. Right now, I'm really into reading and in films. I read as many books as I watch films. I do a bit of running, cycling, and chess. Yeah, I have a little more to share about myself, especially the puzzle side, but I'll keep it for later. Okay. Now, what is a puzzle, right? We should have a working definition for a puzzle. Here I have a definition for the verb from a puzzle, and turns out there's a contradiction. It's actually a paradox. It can either mean you're confused, I'm puzzled, right? Or you're trying to find out something. I'm trying to puzzle it out, right? So it's directly contradictory. And it's funny that the word puzzle itself has such a contradiction. That's the verb. How about the noun form of puzzle? There's this person called Maki Kaji, and he has an interesting definition for puzzles. He's actually the founder of Nikoli. You might have heard of Nikoli. It's a company that publishes books on Sudoku and many other Japanese puzzles, Ken and all. Maki Kaji is the one who actually popularized Sudoku all around the world. And he didn't invent Sudoku, but he made it popular. And he says this: you can define a puzzle as being a question mark. That is the problem. When you're baffled with something, you're trying to figure out something, then you go into the arrow. That's the struggle part. You're wrestling with it. You're fighting hard. You're looking for a solution. And then when you land on a solution, that's the exclamation mark, right? The aha moment or the eureka moment. Now, my take on this is that you can increase the size of the question mark and the exclamation mark, right? And when you do that, the satisfaction you get from solving a puzzle increases. Like if the problem you solve is bigger, the struggle is harder, and the aha you get from the solving the puzzle is bigger, right? Then your satisfaction is automatically much more. Maki Kaji also says this. He says, don't focus on the ends, right? Focus on the middle part, like climbing a mountain. Don't focus on reaching the summit. If you enjoy the climb, then that's happiness in itself. Likewise, for puzzles, I think if we don't focus on how big the problem is, whether it's too hard, the difficulty, don't focus on that. And also don't look for perfection and reaching a solution. Instead, if we focus on solving it and enjoying the solving process, that will give us a lot of happiness. Now, what are puzzles, right? What are some examples of puzzles? Here I have Google search results for puzzles. These are real results I took from Google. So according to Google, there are jigsaw puzzles, there are Rubik's Cubes are puzzles. There's, of course, Sudoku, word search. Magic Square is a little less well-known. There's crossword, very popular, maze, spot the difference, and these are all considered puzzles by Google. But today's topic, we are focusing on mechanical puzzles. Of course, you would have seen all the other puzzles. These are a bit more rare, right? So what are mechanical puzzles? They are physical in nature, meaning the tactile, you hold them in your hands. They're unplugged, not connected to electronics, no software, just the puzzle and you. They're handheld. Oftentimes they are portable, very small, can bring it out. For example, I have this puzzle, I have this one here, and the sizes vary. This one here is a snake cube. It's actually this puzzle over here. When it's unfolded, it looks like this. And the objectives are very different. Later, I'll share a bit more on that. There are also objects of art, which I think would be of most interest to all the young creatives in the audience today. They demand your attention, right? Compared to, say, the previous slide, you've got all these puzzles. Of course, jigsaw puzzle and Rubik's Cube are mechanical puzzles. They're a bit more, they catch your eye, right? They're eye-catching. And lastly, I have a self-contained here. What I mean by that is they're language independent. They're also independent of culture. These are the kinds of puzzles and games that will go far in terms of time, right? Thousands of years later, I'm sure that these puzzles will still be around because they're not dependent on language or culture. You look at a puzzle, you can sort of guess what you need to do with it, right? So this one here is called Hedgehog in the Cage. This is a puzzle very popular in the Czech Republic. You might have seen this. So this thing that looks like a coronavirus in the cage, right? You actually need to take it out and then put it back into the cage. No force required. So when the puzzle is there in front of you, it's almost as if there's an invisible sign atop the puzzle saying, come pick me up and try solving me, right? So, okay. Next up, I have a contrast between puzzles and games. Are puzzles and games the same thing? Well, there are two schools of thought. One school of thought says puzzles are not the same as games. Puzzles are one-off challenges, unlike games, right? Once you solve the puzzle, it's done, right? You solve it once, you solve it forever, but not a game. You can play it again and again and again. Puzzles are non-adversarial. What this means is that you're not playing against someone to beat them. You're not playing to win. In fact, the setter of the puzzle wants you to win, right? They have not set you an impossible task. The puzzle designer wants you to solve the puzzle, right? Okay, and puzzles are also single player. You and the puzzle, you on your own. You play against yourself in a way. Test of ingenuity and reasoning. So there's less room for chance and more room for logical thought, systematic solving. Then there's the other school of thought that says puzzles are indeed games. And their reasoning goes like, you indeed play with the setter. Even though the designer is not there, they are exercising their control in absentia. Right? They've already designed a puzzle with certain limits that you have to figure out, right? So you are in fact playing with a setter. While puzzles can be an individual endeavor, they can also be played in a group setting. Take, for example, the Rubik's Cube. There are so many competitions around the Rubik's Cube. So it just depends on how we arrange the setting, right? Can be played in a group setting as well. While the puzzle is one, the solvers can be many, right? Take, for example, a jigsaw puzzle. Many people can come together and solve together. So it's not a solo endeavor. There is also a subcategory of puzzles called puzzle games, which have many challenges, multiple levels. And in that case, there are a series of puzzles and that becomes a game. In that sense, you could even consider a game like chess, a series of puzzles. It's just a series of puzzles that each opponent sets to the other, one after the other, right? Okay. So on to the next slide. Here, I have a few classification systems. Just like books in the library, we have classes to categorize puzzles in the puzzle world, the mechanical puzzle world. And there are a few common ones. The most common one I've seen is the Slocum classification. It's named after Jerry Slocum, a very well-known gentleman in the puzzle community. And why did they come up with these classifications? It's mostly because they have a huge puzzle collection that they want to manage, right? Then the need arises for them to have such a classification. And the Slocum classification is a very simple solution to the problem of categorizing puzzles. And Jerry Slocum has collected, I think, more than 50,000 puzzles in his lifetime, has donated 34,000 to the Lilly Library in the US. There are others, very big collections, for example, the Edward Horton, James Dalgetty collection that numbers in the thousands too. Today, we are focusing on the Slocum classification that has 10 classes. The first of which is put together. Okay, so put together puzzles are the biggest category of puzzles out there. And as the name suggests, you just need to put the pieces together. That's the objective, right? Here I've shown an example. It's called the Soma cube. How many of you know the Soma cube? You can raise your hand. This is a very classic puzzle in the puzzle world. Yeah. So it's very famous, but I'm not sure how famous it is outside the puzzle community. Okay. So the Soma cube has 7 pieces, as shown here in the photograph. We need to put the 7 pieces together into a 3x3x3 cube. You can also make many other shapes. Some examples I've shown at the bottom. There are 240 solutions for the Soma cube. A 3x3 cube, you can make it in 240 unique ways. That's how many different combinations there are. There's also a funny story behind this puzzle, interesting one. It was invented by a poet and physicist called Pete Hine many years ago while he was listening to a lecture by Werner Heisenberg. Heisenberg is a very big figure in the field of physics, in the quantum physics realm. Well, I'm no Heisenberger by any means, but during the lecture by Heisenberg, Pete Hine invented this puzzle, right? Perhaps one of you during this lecture might invent another puzzle. We'll see. Okay, so next class here is take apart. Okay, take apart is also a big class of puzzles. There are trick locks and secret boxes. So this one here is a secret lock called a Hokey Cokey lock. But it's not a normal padlock. You have to experiment with it and look for clues and then figure it out, right? How to open the padlock. This box here is of Japanese origin. It's called yosegi. Well, the design is called yosegi. It's parquetry, meaning you combine different woods of different patterns together like that. Japan is very well known for secret boxes. There's a very famous company called Karakuri Creation Group that puts out exquisite puzzle boxes. The objective here is to open this box, and you might have to, slide some panels. There's multiple steps. It could be tens of steps to solve the puzzle. Okay, next slide. We have interlocking solids. This is my personal favorite. These are puzzles that require you to disassemble the puzzle and then put it back, right? They're interlocking, okay? A big family of puzzles in this category is burrs. Some examples of these are here. They themselves are families in their own right. Like they're pagoda puzzles, they're chuck puzzles, diagonal burr puzzles. So for example, chuck, right? There is a baby chuck, there's a papa chuck, there's a grandpapa chuck, and then a great-grandpapa chuck. It just increases in size. Yeah? But then there are also other puzzles that look the same, but the interior is different. So it's a different puzzle altogether. Okay. Then there are disentanglement puzzles, the object of which is to take out a certain piece by disentangling. Right here, I have an example called Chinese rings. This is a classic puzzle. There are two versions of this. This one is a staircase version, then this one has a rod through it. This has 4 rings. This one has 9 rings. It just takes a bit longer. It's also called a patience puzzle because you need a lot of patience to solve this one. In French, it's called baganaudier. Yeah, and okay. So next slide, I have sequential movement puzzles. Rubik's Cube falls under this category. Pyraminx is a well-known twisty puzzle also. But did you know that this puzzle was actually invented before the Rubik's Cube? It was invented several years before the Rubik's Cube, but only took off after the craze that came from the Rubik's Cube. Yeah. Here I have an interesting puzzle. It's called Klocki in Polish, but in Chinese, it's called Huarong Tao. And there is an interesting story to this. The setting is the 3 kingdoms, right? There's a character here, Cao Cao, who wants to escape. He's a wanted man, right? And then the people trying to stop him. But this person here, Guan Yu, he's very generous to him because of the good things that Cao Cao has done for him in the past. So he lets him through. So that's Huarong Tao. So like this, there are lots of puzzles with interesting stories and background to them. Last one I have here is a framed jigsaw by Hajime Katsumoto. I've put it here because this is a very interesting puzzle. It's a restricted packing problem. You need to put the jigsaw pieces into this restricted opening. Well, solving the jigsaw is trivial, right? You can solve the jigsaw very easily, but putting it through the opening here and then filling it up exactly, that's tricky, right? And you need to follow a certain order to be able to do it. That's why it's a sequential movement puzzle. So like this puzzle, there are a lot of puzzles that overlap. It can be in multiple categories at the same time. Yeah. One more comment on the Pyraminx. People sometimes categorize it as a twisty puzzle, so broader cat, or a combinatorial puzzle based on the mathematics underlying the puzzle. Okay. Then there are dexterity puzzles. This I'm sure you would have seen. This puzzle here is Pix in Clover, a well-known puzzle. It's one of the first it's this type of puzzles. It's called Pix in Clover because these balls here are considered pigs, and we need to bring them back to their home. There's a pen. Yeah, you need to balance, and it's a tricky puzzle. There's also the kendama. It's a popular dexterity puzzle game. You might have seen that too. Then there are more categories here. I'm not going into detail for each one of them. There are puzzle vessels, vanish puzzles, folding puzzles, impossible objects. Just to highlight, vessels, quite interesting. You need to drink from the vessel without spilling, or you need to fill the vessel. Right? You need to find out how to fill the vessel. Maybe you need to fill it from the bottom, or drink it from the handle, or something like that. Right? It's very unique. This was used very long ago in ceremonies. Yeah, and vanish puzzles. This one's a classic example by Sam Lloyd, a prolific designer of puzzles. This one's called Get Off the Earth puzzle. Something vanishes when you make a difference to when you change the puzzle. You need to explain how. This one here is a puzzle game. We talked about puzzle games earlier. This one, you can see there are a lot of challenge cards, right? Each challenge card shows you a few squares. You need to fold the cloth in order to form those shapes, the colors, I mean. Yeah. Then finally, we have a ship in a bottle. It's a classic example for impossible objects. You need to explain how the puzzle is made. Yeah. Do you all know how the ship is made? So we can think about it. Yeah, it's an interesting object, this one. Okay, now that we have seen the various different types of puzzles out there, well, I've shown you a few examples only. There's thousands of puzzles, literally. There's 100,000 at least, I would say. Why do we puzzle? Why do we have a tendency to puzzle? And what benefit does it hold for us? I would like to quote Rubik, the creator of the Rubik's Cube. He says, "We turn the cube and it twists us." I interpret this as meaning when we change the puzzle in turn changes us, right? I think the puzzles in general change our mindsets. They challenge our way of thinking, our usual ways of thinking, get us to think outside the box. In fact, the term or the phrase outside the box comes from a puzzle itself. And this is the puzzle. So I did not put this here just for ornamental purpose. The 9 dots here are a puzzle where you need to draw 4 lines, just 4 lines without lifting off your pen or pencil from the paper to connect all 9 dots. Can you do it? So I'm not going to give you the solution. Think about this puzzle. It's a classic puzzle. This one's not a mechanical puzzle, yeah? This is more towards an abstract logic puzzle, perhaps. Okay. And a few more thoughts on why puzzle. Perhaps we are naturally wired to solve puzzles. There is an effect called Zeigarnik effect, which is the human brain's tendency to mentally complete incomplete patterns. There's something called Gestalt psychology, which refers to the brain's tendency to mentally complete incomplete patterns. So perhaps then we are pushed to solve puzzles just for the sake of them, without any other reward or incentive. An example here, chimpanzees have been found to be very interested in solving dexterity puzzles without being given any food. No incentive, they still solve puzzles. Yeah. Okay, personally, I think puzzles hold the solutions to many of our world's problems, and that's what I do. I'll share more about it later. Here are many more benefits of puzzling. This is very closely aligned to our goals at Project Enigma. The prime benefit, I think, in solving any puzzle is honing your problem-solving skill, right? But when I first started out as a puzzle solver, that's what I was going for. I wanted to improve my problem-solving skill. But soon I found out that there are many other benefits from puzzling. For example, puzzles can help improve your memory. They are very useful as therapy, right? They can stave off loneliness and help people with early onset dementia. They help create creative thinkers. I wish to also see in future people looking at their phones lesser and playing with puzzles more, right? That reducing the screen time. Yeah. Okay. And for you, maybe just one more comment on this. I think for all of you in the audience today, one benefit that I've not shown here is getting out of creative blocks, right? No matter what field you're working on, what your work involves, there are times when you'll face obstacles. You may run out of ideas or you're stuck, right? Having something to fidget like that, right? I found that it helps you take your mind away for a short while, then your subconscious mind works on the problem that you're tackling previously. When you come back to it, suddenly you're flowing much better, right? Okay, a few more interesting examples. And here comes the most interesting part of what I'm going to share with you today. These are applications of puzzles in real life, practical uses of puzzles, not just for the sake of solving the puzzle, but something else. So for example, trick locks and secret opening boxes have been used in antiquity in Rome for keeping things safe and secure. Like there's an entire book on trick locks, masked puzzle padlocks. There are also folding knives and matchboxes that keep you safe. For instance, the folding knife, right? Your perpetrator, somebody wants to harm you, they won't know how to handle the knife, right? But you know how to handle it. The matchbox here, I read that in the olden days, the matchbox was not actually that safe. It can get ignited. The matchstick can get ignited on its own. So people came up with ingenious ways to design the boxes such that you can only open it deliberately. You cannot, it won't ignite on its own. This puzzle here is a tavern puzzle. This is a puzzle that's exchanged between blacksmiths, people who work with metal. This was given, in the evenings. There was exchanged in the pub as an entertainment, but it also doubles up as training. And it's a good education in blacksmithing itself. Anchor stone puzzles are tangram-like puzzles that were used in wartime. The funny thing is, the company that produced these puzzles, Anchor, right? They were supplying to both sides, right? So soldiers on either side were playing with these puzzles in the trenches. This was in World War I. Puzzles have been used widely in math and computer science. For example, the tangram is used to teach geometry, used to teach congruence, similarity, fractions, a lot of topics. Tower of Hanoi is used in universities to teach recursion, computational thinking. Yeah. Okay, one anime here, Fee Brain, Puzzle of God, actually touches on puzzles. So if you watch anime, you can check this out. Stranger Things actually also features puzzles in the early episodes. I think Papa's laboratory, they have such enigmas and puzzles on the tables to train up the 11 and other kids. Okay, all right. This part here is directly relevant to, I think, what you do at school. These are intersections between the puzzle world and other worlds. So here I have a cross between puzzles and art. An artist called Tim Klein came up with an idea where he combines jigsaw puzzles. And he's able to combine jigsaw puzzles because the producer of, say, jigsaws, right? They tend to have the same die-cut pattern for their puzzles. So you can combine puzzles like this one. Tutankhamun here is a mix between Kamion and Tutankhamun. Kamion means truck in French. Okay, next one. This is a very interesting piece of artwork, and it's full of objects. There are 1,229 objects here that start with the letter S. So it's a series of artworks released by Mike Wilkes in 1986 as a booklet. In fact, so you have skeleton here, starts with S, ship here. If you look closely, there's also white crescent moon with 5 stars. No points for guessing. That's the Singapore flag. Yeah. Okay. Another piece of artwork. This is a very famous piece of artwork from the Renaissance period by Peter Bruegel the Elder, 1559. Very old painting. It's an oil on oak panel painting. This is not a normal painting. It's a painting of proverbs. It captures humans' folly. So for one example here, I have banging the head against the wall. It's going against an impossible task, right? Yeah. Okay, more examples of intersections between puzzles and art. That's Einstein made out of Rubik's cubes. And here we have artworks with tangram shapes. And this made solving the tangram much more entertaining, that it caused a puzzle craze in Europe. So this is from France. You can see some charming figures engaging in different kinds of acrobatics and antics. So this one's about architecture, different kinds of buildings, all can be made with the 7 tangram tans. Here is a cross between sculpting and puzzles. This is a real-life sculpture in Western Australia, Perth. So this object, the triangle, is impossible. It cannot exist in reality without a twist, right? But it's an illusion. You see it from a certain angle, you see the impossible triangle. You look at it from another angle, it disappears, right? And here we have the hedge maze from Changi Jewel. It's a very nice life-size puzzle, and this is called topiary, and that's sculpting with bushes, right? There's a cross between puzzles and architecture. Here we have kumiki puzzles. These are also of Japanese origin. These were very early export puzzles from Japan. The interesting thing about kumiki puzzles are that you don't need to use any fasteners to hold pieces together. They are interlocking. They belong to the category of interlocking puzzles. And this exact concept, the joinery technique, is used to build buildings. And apparently, when earthquakes come, right, these buildings withstand the earthquakes better than those with fasteners. Here we have the mirror maze, very interesting maze. You got to visit it if you haven't. Also at Changi Jewel. A cross between puzzle and fashion. This is Sekar Jagat. This is a motif in batik. I actually took this picture at Batik Kita. It was a recent exhibition. If I recall correctly, it's at Asian Civilizations Museum. And that's a puzzle motif, right? Commonly worn in wedding ceremonies. Here we have the cast ABC puzzle. It's a disentanglement puzzle where you need to take out the C piece. If you look closely here, there is a ring here. Do you know what the ring is for? Okay, it's for threading your keychain thread through. So you can use this puzzle as a keychain. And there are many keychain puzzles out there. This is a pendant you can wear around your neck. This is a disentanglement puzzle where you need to remove the string from the object here. The two hearts. There is a necklace. This necklace is a packing problem. This is a ring. You need to assemble it into a ring that you can actually wear. And these cost quite a bit. Yeah. Okay. And here we have a cross between furniture and puzzles. I've only shown desks and tables here, but there are doors. You name it, they have it. So there's bookends, kitchenware, all sorts of puzzle furniture. Here we have miniature tangram tables that you can shift around into different shapes. There's this organ desk, which is also an instrument, amazingly. So the designer took 5 years to design this puzzle desk that has more than 20 puzzles hidden within it. He was commissioned to do it by someone. It took 5 years to work on this. And here we have PM Lee. Yeah, you might have seen this in the news. There's a cross between community and puzzle. So how are puzzles used in the community? This is a puzzle that has taken its place in the Singapore Book of Records. 1,716 people over 11 days solved this puzzle. This was just last year. Okay, and there's a cross between therapy and puzzles as well. Here's a Netflix documentary. This is Felix Zemdex and Max Park. And Max has mild autism, I believe. And in the documentary explores how playing with cubes has helped him with dealing with his condition, right? And puzzles are also widely used as therapy for people with anxiety, and to also, like I said earlier, to tackle dementia. They're also used in labyrinths. Labyrinths are different from mazes. They're not the same. Labyrinths have no end, no start, right? So you just go in and keep going in circles, and this helps calms your nerves down. Puzzles and advertising. Puzzles have been used widely for marketing and selling products. Here I've just shown 2 examples, but they have been used to advertise anything from milk all the way to detergent. Here, this is a puzzle commissioned by the World Wildlife Fund to raise awareness. So they have a series of kumiki puzzles. This one's an elephant kumiki. So they talk about endangered animals, their whereabouts, where can they find these animals and all. This one's from Book Depository. It's a bookmark puzzle. So they're encouraging reading and all with these bookmarks. Okay, now I've shared about all the different applications of puzzles. We're moving on to designers and the people behind them. And I thought this person would be very interesting for all of you to know about. So he's Yu Asaka. He became a puzzle designer when he was a 3rd-year art student. For his art project in the 3rd year, right, he decided to design a jigsaw puzzle that is unconventional, that breaks boundaries, and it's not solved the usual way. So just to give you one example, this one here is called Jigsaw 19. If you look closely, do you see anything different with the pieces? So every single piece is a corner piece. It has 2 straight edges. Normally when we solve a jigsaw puzzle, we place the 4 corners first and then edges and all, right? But how do you separate edges here, central pieces here, and corner pieces? Can't, right? So these are the kind of puzzles that he creates. And do note that puzzle designers have their own quirks and styles. So this puzzle designer here, Krasnukov, is Russian. His puzzles have a different flavor to them. So they are all puzzles that look like they're impossible to solve, but can be solved. Okay? So this one, the rules are embedded. I don't really have to explain to you what needs to be done. You can see with this arrow, you need to put the triangle into here. You need a radical rearrangement of the pieces. Okay. Rex Rosano Perez is a designer from the Philippines, and his puzzles are free the coin puzzles. Sometimes you may need to discover things sequentially. Maybe you discover some tools that you use to find more tools and then take out the coin. So he has a whole group of free the coin puzzles. So just like the designers I've shared earlier, he has his own quirk. He likes free the coin puzzles. These are all laser cut. Interesting fact, he's actually a radiologist. Many puzzle designers have jobs apart from their puzzle design endeavors. There are so many more designers out there, but I wanted to share with you a couple of Singaporean designers. This is Jerry Liu, and Jerry is a mentor of Project Enigma, and he has guided us so much. Jerry is very well known in the puzzle community for his blog. His blog is one of the so-called big 4 puzzle blogs out there. You can learn a lot from just reading his blog. And that's a shelf with a lot of exquisite puzzles. And he designs many, many puzzles. He's designed, I think, more than 50. One of his latest designs is the skull. And these are his puzzles being sold on a Canadian website, Puzzle Master. Okay. And another Singaporean designer, Gopit Kiam. I know what all of you are thinking. His name sounds like Kopitiam, but it's different. It's Gopit Kiam. And his designs have won awards at the international level. Both Jerry and Gopit Kiam are actually lecturers. Jerry is a former lawyer, and he also directs a couple of companies. And Pit Kiam, I believe he teaches engineering at a local polytechnic. Another Singaporean, David Ang, he started a puzzle retail company focusing on Rubik's Cubes called CubeWorks. They also run competitions. They promote puzzling in Singapore, speed cubing. This is an event I attended recently called Sunday Silence Singapore. Do you know why it's Sunday Silence? Because you solve the puzzles in silence. There's a catch to it. There were 2 events. One is a multi-blind event where you take 1 hour to memorize as many cubes as you can, and then blindfold yourself and then try to solve. And I think the record for the day was like 30 plus cubes. Yeah. So someone memorized 30 plus cubes and managed to solve it correctly. And the other event was fewest moves. So you have to solve a cube in the fewest moves possible. Okay. I want to show you this video about a Singaporean speed cuber.
I'm Tan. I'm studying in Republic Polytechnic right now. One of my favorite hobbies is solving the Rubik's Cube. It all started in primary 6. I had this classmate, I remember his name is Xu Jie. He solved a Rubik's Cube in front of us. He solved it in 50 seconds. From a young boy that didn't know how to solve a Rubik's Cube, 50 seconds was very impressive really. That's why after PSRA then I promised myself that I would learn how to solve the cube. Over time, I got faster and faster and really passionate at it. That's why I'm still doing it after 7 years. I wanted to ask that friend Xu Jie for advices and teach me how to solve, but I didn't understand what he said. So eventually I looked up on YouTube. I just rewatched that YouTube video over and over again. That's how I learned how to solve. I actually learned how to solve and juggle since P6 already, but it's just that I was lazy to go through all the whole process of applying for the record, and I probably wasn't that independent enough at that point in time. So only after 5-6 years later, at 18 years old, then that's when I decided to apply for the record. I was the first Singaporean to win the Singapore Rubik's Cube Open Championships, and because usually it's always the foreigners that win those championships, and I was the first local Singaporean to get first place. Then I think that's my proudest achievement so far.
Yeah, so that's Daryl Tan, and he holds 10 world records in speed cubing. And he's a Singaporean, right? He's a very young Singaporean. Yeah. The speed cubing community in Singapore is quite vibrant, quite active. And among mechanical puzzles, Rubik's Cube, it's the best-selling one. And naturally, it has the biggest community. Okay, another video. And this one's about a puzzle-solving YouTuber. You may know of Chris Ramsey, a short video on
side pieces for that to fit, correct? Imagine that was it right there, and then I get back to it later and I'm like, I should have stayed there. But that, technically that has to happen somewhere. So we should have 2 extra side pieces, 5 total corners. Logically thinking, I don't think normally you start a puzzle from the corner. I can start there. I honestly don't think that is going to be the way to solve this particular puzzle. I
Yeah,
think
so this is how his videos are usually are. He starts with like very interesting B-rolls and close-up shots, quite dope, the beginning part. Then he goes into solving mode, where he ons the timer, switches on the timer, and then solves the puzzle. And here he's solving a U Osaka puzzle. Okay, and okay, next up, I have a list of puzzle retailers and manufacturers. I'm going to gloss over this, but I just wanted to show you that there are a lot of retailers and manufacturers, many players in the puzzle industry, but most of them don't have a presence here in Singapore. Yeah. There's some in nearby countries. Thailand, so Siam Mandalay is a company that produces wooden puzzles, and they're based in Thailand. So I think it's an American company based in Thailand. And I get a lot of puzzles from Puzzle Master from Canada, Mr. Puzzle Australia, Hanayama from Japan. You can see they're all around the world. Next up, there's International Puzzle Party. And International Puzzle Party is an invite-only event for serious collectors. Now, the time is secret, the date is secret, the location is also secret. Excuse me. So they have been happening for a long time, where people from all around the world gather for a few days. They exchange puzzles, they sell puzzles they have made. Usually happens in the USA, Japan, and Europe. There's also another event called Gathering for Gardener. If you do get a chance, you can attend. This is an open to all event. You could even organize your own event through Gathering for Gardener. It's organized in memory of Martin Gardner, who was a prolific figure in the puzzle, magic, and mathematics world. Okay. There is a puzzle design competition that you may be interested to apply for. So they give a lot of awards. This puzzle competition is named after Nobuyuki Yoshigahara, is a key figure in the puzzle world. He's already passed away, but he's done so much for the community. Sam Lloyd Award is another big award in the puzzle community. It's given to individuals who help promote puzzles through either the design, development, there's also manufacture. So these three things. Yeah. Okay. All right. So another interesting aspect that I wanted to share with you about is the puzzle design process. So what happens behind the scenes? What do all these people do, right? This is not a formula by any measure. So this is just the way I do things. And this is a puzzle that I recently designed just last week. And I call it 10 gram squared. Okay, so this is a 2-layer 10 gram where there are the pieces from 2 different sizes of 10 grams. They're connected top and bottom. So it's a little tricky. You need to make 2 squares at the same time. So you're solving 2 puzzles at the same time. So I called it a 10 gram square. And what happened behind the scenes, right? First, you must want to design a puzzle. You need the motivation. You need to go and expose yourself to all the puzzles out there, so you get ideas. And then let these ideas germinate in your brain, right? And let it rest. And at one point in time, you're going to have like a small spark. Then you need to build on that spark. You need to prototype. Perhaps you could use 3D printing, laser cutting, quick cardboard prototyping. And once you have a prototype ready, you need to test it on your friends, family, gather the feedback. You refine it further. If you want, you can patent it. And then when you're ready, you can produce it, right? You produce the puzzle, you find a manufacturer for it, or you can manufacture it yourself. After you produce it, you need to market it to the right audience through the right channels. And then you see, well, how's the pickup rate, how much it's selling. Then you review and adjust your strategy. Okay. There are many elements of puzzle design. I know there's a book called Elements of Design that Abby was just sharing with me earlier. So again, these are not, this is not an exhaustive list. I'll just quickly go through them. Symmetry in puzzles, it need not be superficial visual symmetry. It can be strategic. So underlying, when you solve the puzzle, then you find out the symmetry in the puzzle. Surprise, the element of surprise is very important. Uniqueness is a very big thing in mechanical puzzles. having just one solution, one unique solution to your puzzle makes your puzzle elegant, solution elegant, right? There's no ambiguity about the way to solve the puzzle. There's only one way, and then you can deduce your way through it. The setter and the solver are on the same page with respect to solving the puzzle. Embedding the rules, I lightly mentioned earlier, like for example, Krasnikov's puzzles with an arrow, you know what you have to do. There are many puzzles that do this, so you don't need a person there to explain to you what you need to do with the puzzle or even a separate instruction sheet. Pokayoke is a Japanese term meaning mistake proofing. So in the design itself, you make it impossible for the solver to make mistakes. Yeah, could be wrong turns. And then the solver has some feedback from the puzzle itself that, okay, they need to backtrack, right? So that's Pokayoke. Okay, I'm going to just gloss over color choice, material choice, production quality, and name. These are things that matter, but I have a lot more to cover, so I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay. This is Bird tools. To design your puzzle, you need software. In today's world, there's so many free softwares, open source softwares out there that you could use. You could use Fusion 360. I believe you learned Rhino at school, AutoCAD. You could use those. If not, you can use Bird tools. Bird tools is mechanical puzzle specific software. Bird is a type of puzzle, the one that I told you that I like, right? And these are just some clips from the interface. It's free, so you can go take a look at it at birdtools.sourceforge.net. Next, I believe you have some 3D printers at school. This is one way that you can prototype and build puzzles. There's something called the Printable Puzzle Project with a whole list of puzzles you can print. They're ready to print. They've already been tested, but this is not commercial, so you can't sell these puzzles. Here I have some puzzles that we have 3D printed at Project Enigma. Some of them are out of production, so we print them because no one else produces them, so we do it. Apart from 3D printing, you can also use the 3D pen to draw out your puzzle. That's another way. Laser digital cutting are also very fast. You can etch, engrave, and cut. So there are different materials you can use for laser cutting: acrylic, wood, plywood, and even aluminum. Cardboard, I think you can also laser cut. Cardboard, maybe not. Depends on the thickness and all. There's digital cutting. You can cut cardstock, it's paper, of different thicknesses. Again, there's woodworking. You can handcraft your puzzle if you know how, or there are books. Puzzles in Wood is a classic puzzle on making puzzles from wood. So that's that. And then finally, cardboard and paper prototyping. That's the easiest, quick and dirty way to get things done. Many more ways are actually anything you can find around your home, you can also use. I've ever used chopsticks. We have also used bottle caps, just twine. You can also use those to make puzzles. Okay. All right. Then here's a list of books. Do check them out in your free time if you're interested. These are very well-known books. I'm not going to go into detail in all of them. Maybe I would recommend you to check out Cubed. If you don't check out the others, Cubed is written by Rubik and lets you go into the mind of a puzzle designer. And Rubik has a background in architecture and art, right? So I think that would be very relevant and applicable to what you do at school. Actually, a couple of other books here will also apply to you. For example, Game and Puzzle Design. This journal is no longer published, right? It's out of print, but there are 6 very nice volumes that talk about the thinking behind puzzles. And they touch on some mechanical puzzles, like there's this puzzle ring here. Shape of Difficulty was actually written by an art professor. So this again might be of interest to you. Enter, if you can, The Art of Puzzle Boxes. Very interesting book that has a puzzle included with it. You need to open this lock in order to access the book. Okay. Some websites and blogs you can check out. The way I discovered puzzles was through Rob's puzzle page. That was a vista into window into the puzzle world for me. And I've listed some other blogs here that you can check out in your free time. Okay, so what after this, I'm going to go into the final segment, which is a bit more about what we do at Project Enigma and the business side of things. A little bit of history on my end. So how did I get into puzzles? I've come across many puzzles in my childhood. Some of these might be familiar to you as well. This one's called Peg Solitaire. In India, this was called Brain Vita. So I was born in India, but I grew up in Singapore. When I came to primary school, I got this tea puzzle. It was given as a Children's Day gift. It's called tea puzzle because you need to make use of the 4 shapes here to make a T shape. And I've come across other puzzles as well. This one's called Instant Insanity. Funny name. There's wire puzzles. These are very common. And of course, a Rubik's Cube. My Rubik's Cube that I got from my primary school, right? I solved it just once and it fell apart, but it piqued my interest in puzzles. I solved it many years later after I went into secondary school. Then that's only when I watched a YouTube video and then solved the Rubik's Cube. I've come across many other puzzles, but I'm going to skip them for now. Okay, I want to show you a video. Okay.
Twice. 3 times. Okay, you're clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in 5 minutes I want you to disassemble this puzzle and assemble it back again. I'll be asking you questions. You must answer me loud and clear so I can hear you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, your time starts now. What camp are you from?
I'm from Mission Camp.
Can you tell me what CBRE stands for?
Chemical Biological Revolutionary.
Can you tell me what day is it today?
Also, it's Friday, so book out day.
Physical wise, I'm okay. Dealing with distractions, I was okay. It's just that the final part, getting the pieces together. We're supposed to dismantle and reassemble the cubes. And then what happened was, I actually dropped one of the pieces on the floor. And then when I tried to fix it back, it doesn't look the same.
Look at the instructions here.
And they had a set of instructions for us. But the thing is, the instructions were meant to trick us. At one point, they held it at one angle, and then the next photo shows another angle. So in our mind, we had to constantly turn the cube mentally and try to piece them together. So that was pretty much what went through my mind at the time.
Okay, time is up.
Overall, I think I did okay. The only one where I fumbled a little was during the fixing of the cube. I think if that is what they're looking for, then I might have lost points there, but in general, I think I did fine.
Do you want to come to EOD?
Yes, sir.
Badly?
Yes, very
Okay,
very.
so why did I show you all this video, right? So this is a unit in the army called EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal. It's a bomb disposal unit. They deal with improvised explosive devices and unexploded bombs from World War II. Yeah. So this video, actually, it's a channel called Every Singaporean Son. I saw this episode of it on YouTube before I entered NS, and then I saw that there's this puzzle, right? And there's this selection test. I really wanted to go to this unit. So wherever I went, I was searching for this puzzle. And one day in Brunei or Thailand, I can't remember where exactly I got this puzzle. I actually saw this puzzle on the shelf. So I have it here with me. So I immediately bought this puzzle, and it helped me actually get into the EOD. During my turn, there was the exact same puzzle that was presented to us and the same designer. So I solved it very quickly, and the examiner was very surprised. But actually, I knew how to solve the puzzle. Yeah. So that actually piqued my interest in puzzles, and that's when I really started. Sorry, that's when I started getting into puzzle land. Yeah. That's the puzzle that I just showed you. I also wrote a paper during my army time to set up a puzzle corner in the army. I thought, these puzzles could be put to use in the mess that we had in our camp. Actually, the commanders, my superiors, they said, yeah, go ahead. You can get some money for this, and they apportioned some money for this, a few $100. But I awarded before I could set it up. And then here is a mini connection. This was about 5 years, six years ago at my place. I have here science toys along with puzzles. This is the first puzzle that I made myself, woodworked. Yeah, this is a Soma cube that I showed you earlier. Okay, then came Project Enigma. So I had the idea for Project Enigma puzzle company back in 2016. I also wrote a paper for it, but I never really worked on it from then. I was waiting for the right opportunity to launch it, right? And then came along the NUS Resilience and Growth Innovation Challenge, to which I gathered a few of my friends and then applied for it. And luckily we got the award, and that helped us kickstart Project Enigma. So we started as a community initiative, but since then we have incorporated, and now we have a range of products and services. I have a quote here saying, "Puzzle boxes enrich the lives of aficionados, while the rest of the world knows little about them. Many more people would be thrilled by puzzle art had they known that such a thing exists." Now, in my personal life, I have benefited so much from puzzles, and I wanted to share this joy with other people. And that's why I began Project Enigma. And at the start, we had 15 volunteers, and now we have paid folks. Apart from me, there are part-timers, freelancers, and we want to see a Singapore where our national pastime is puzzling, right? A mainstream hobby, just like reading or running. We want to make a better world through puzzles. And how do we do that? It's through our mission, what we do. We bring puzzles closer through various means in order to benefit people, benefit people's health, learning, well-being, different things. Different people will have different benefits from the puzzles. We raise awareness, we increase the accessibility, we make the puzzles more affordable. And we have a philosophy. So we are planet positive. So we don't do things that hurt the planet. We take care of the people, our customers, and ourselves. And at the same time, we don't forget the profit. So it has to be sustainable, right? Some insights into what we do, what kind of things we face, circumstances we see in our company. We get a lot of sales requests. People see the puzzles that we have and they want to buy the puzzles. But we know that once you solve a puzzle, it loses its appeal, right? So we have a policy of not selling puzzles. we handle all these sales requests. So even though it's a low-hanging fruit, we get a lot of requests about buying puzzles. We hold back and instead do rentals and loans and other kinds of services. Customer education is a very important thing for us as well, because puzzles are a very niche area that are little known outside the community. So we have to educate our customers. We need to tell them, let them know about all these puzzles out there. How do you engage with a puzzle? How do you solve puzzles? If they get stuck, we need to help them, all them. And not just for customers, it's our staff as well. They need to be knowledgeable. They need to read books. They need to solve puzzles themselves. And talking about solving puzzles, right? It's easy to get very into it. You won't know that time is passing by very fast when you're solving a puzzle. So it's a real risk that we run, where our staff spend a lot of time puzzling and not working on the business, right? So we have a policy also that we must try a puzzle a day, right? But not more than one puzzle a day. Why we try a puzzle a day is because only then we stay current, where we know what we are selling, right? What we are promoting, and then why not more than one? Because we got other things to do as well, right? So we strike a balance. Okay, so how exactly has Project Enigma promoted puzzles in Singapore? We came up with a lot of ideas. The first one we did was to set up a museum, right? A place, actually this is at my flat, HDB. So I set aside a room just to display 1,500 unique puzzles. And yeah, so we have about more than 100 visitors, I think about 120 visitors that have come to this place, spent many hundreds of hours at this place. So any puzzle you see here, you can pick up and play. Yeah, and most puzzles here are not from Singapore. Okay, then another service that we brainstormed and developed was a Spark box. This is a subscription box for enterprises as well as individuals. We have different plans. Why do we do this? Because this Puzzletopia I just showed you, right? It's in a physical location. The people have to come there to try and solve the puzzle. Yeah. But this Spark box brings out the puzzles to people's doorsteps, right? So this helps with making it much more scalable. So we have Sparkbox puzzles and Sparkbox puzzle games as well. And this is how it looks like. It comes in this kind of a box, maybe the IKEA cardboard box as well. And we have puzzle cards that go along with the puzzles. We have feedback form and other cards. Okay, and this, we're reaching 200 loans for this service, Sparkbox. Puzzle Quest is another initiative that we carried out over 3 to 6 months, 3 months for planning and 3 months for execution. We reached 60 families for this puzzle challenge. It was a virtual puzzle challenge held entirely online. We gave a bag of puzzles like this to families, and the families were more from the disadvantaged background. We worked with Thai Hua Kwan Moral Charities for this. So they funded most of the event. And the families would solve puzzles. They gain points. When they reach a certain tier, they can claim they can exchange the points for vouchers. That was the idea behind Puzzle Quest. Okay. Then Enigma class. This is a more rigorous workshop, hands-on workshop for adults and children, youth as well. Okay. We have Puzzle Time. This is again a kind of workshop, less rigorous, just an engagement session. This we did at Anglican Care Center, which serves. This is at Pasir Ris, so they serve people with mental health problems, ranging from depression to schizophrenia. So we went down to do this as cognitive therapy for them. We went down for a few sessions. Then our latest initiative was AHA Corner. Early on we had the COVID pandemic. Now the restrictions are slowly being lessened, right? So we can do AHA Corner now. We had this idea long ago, but there's a time and place for everything, right? So now we're able to do this puzzle booth. Recently, we did it in conjunction with the National Day celebrations here at Kampong Admiralty, near where we are. As well as we worked along with the residents network here. And it's easily over 2 to 3 hours, we can reach about a few hundred people. Yeah. Okay, so I have more slides, but this would be an entire topic on itself. So I think I'll give this a miss, but I just want to lightly touch on this. So every single idea that I shared about earlier, right, has challenges and specific scenarios to it that's very interesting for us to solve, and they're puzzles in themselves, right? So the first one, Puzzletopia, the museum, right? We have to do a curation. We do puzzle curation. I'm the curator for Project Enigma, and there's a number of steps we have to go through, and it's very unique to puzzles. Yeah? There is also lending challenges with respect to Sparkbox. Because it's a physical subscription, it's also rental. There are unique challenges that we face with Sparkbox. Okay, maybe I can, if you have questions on this later, I can share. I just want to leave some time for Q&A. My last slide for today, second last slide, is this. Just a small shout out. If you guys are looking out for internship, we are open. You can always apply to us, and we'll be happy to have you over to design puzzles. You could also have insights into other areas of the business. So do check us out at projectenigma.org, and you can drop us an email at hello@projectenigma.org. Yeah, thank you so much for your attention, and I'll leave you with this slide. Yeah, no matter what puzzles you're solving in whatever areas you're working on, keep calm and puzzle on. Okay, thank you so much.